Okay, I wanted to make this video on 30 series John Deere cab mounts. The older 30 series used a different cab mount than the newer 40 series and on through to the end of the Sound Guard production. The 30 series use this style of cab mount. You can see it's different, pretty easy. It'll have this steel cone and rubber washer. Then this is the other side of it. This one was on the rear of the machine and it would have set approximately like that. Problem with the 30 series cab mounts is they're significantly higher than the 40 series. The time of recording, you can get 40 series mounts for around $200, but the 30 series mounts are going to run you almost $1,000 for the 4 pieces of rubber that you'd need for that machine. If you want to convert the 40 series, that's possible, and this is the information I was able to find online and do some measuring on my 40 series, and I got some help from some other John Deere Sound Guard groups online. And basically the biggest parts that you have to come up with is a ring for the 40 series mounts, and that ring needs to be 3.82 inches inside diameter, approximately 1.34 inches tall. It'd be 0.32 inches for the wall thickness on that mounting ring, and the outside diameter would be 4.14 if you use a 0.32 thick tube. And the closest thing that I have been able to find on that is a 2 7/8 oil-filled pipe coupler. If you take that 2 7/8 coupler and bore the threads out on a lathe, you can easily hit that 3.82 inside diameter. And then there's a spacer that goes through the mounts, and you can make that out of 1-inch OD DOM tubing with a 0.12 wall. That will give you a 0.76 inside diameter, which will easily allow a 3/4 inch bolt to slide through. And those need to be 2 1/8 inch long. You'll need 4 of those bushings and then 4 of those retaining rings. The retaining rings you'll have to weld down. I'll show you that in a second. And then looking at the parts diagram, this is the front side, or no, this is the back side, excuse me. You'll need a 7.5 inch 3/4 bolt. I used dock washers for those 2 washers. The John Deere ones are 3/16 thick, but it's much easier to find dock washers that are a 1/4 inch thick, and then the outside diameter is 3 inch, and it fits a 3/4 inch bolt. And when I ordered those, I got 20 of them. There is some variation in the size on those dock washers, and I measured out the ones I needed. I made sure they were as close as possible in thickness out of that box. 26, that would be the original spacer on the tractor. Then the front side, it's pretty similar. You have your bolt. The original ones will still fit. You have a dock washer, your 40 series mount, the ring that I was describing earlier, the other half of the 40 series mount, the bushing, and then on the front side, you'll have 2 dock washers, and I'll show that in a moment. Okay, this is my front mount. And here you can see the retaining ring I've added. There's the weld. I spaced 3 of them about an inch long, about 120 degrees apart on the ring. The ring is the piece I added, made out of the 2 7/8 inch oil-filled pipe coupler with the threads cut out. That's welded to this bracket that bolts to the transmission. This bracket was original. I added the other. There's 2 dock washers in here. That's what I could find in the parts book and a 40 series service manual. They both showed 2 washers in there, and they're setting on top of a 40 series rubber mount. And up here underneath, you have another dock washer and the bottom side of your front mount. And this is the original 3/4 inch bolt and nut. All of that I was able to keep, and that worked fine. And in the very center of this would be the bushing, 2 1/8 inch bushing that fits over the bolt. That ties the 2 mounts together when you assemble it. And when you do assemble these, you jack up 1 corner at a time, get all the rubber mounts and everything in, and then check to make sure everything looks like it's aligned correctly. You're looking at 1 corner at a time, taking the bolt in and out, making sure everything fits. And once you have a good fitment, you can go ahead and tack down these retaining rings. And these front ones, you can actually remove everything from the side of the tractor. It bolts down to the transmission. You take those bolts out and a couple to the battery box. You can get everything out from under the tractor and weld it separate. The rear cab mounts, fairly similar. The piece there at the bottom, that was original. The retaining ring is welded on. This time it goes to the bottom of that cab rail. Again, you put everything in, get the alignment correct, tack it down, then you can go ahead. You want to take the rubber mount out before you weld it so you don't get it hot, but getting a quick tack in, you're not going to hurt the rubber any. There's on top of that green spacer, there's another one of those dock washers. Your rear 40 series mount, your retaining ring, and then you go to the top side, you have your top 40 series rear mount, another dock washer, and your bolt going through. And on that bolt, rather than use the John Deere part number, believe they call for a locking bolt in the description on that part number. I just used a regular bolt and some blue Loctite to retain it in the hole. And that's what I did to convert this 30 series tractor over to 40 series mounts. Some of the mounts may be different. My 4640, it just had this one single spacer, but there's also some other ones. I think the 50 series were a little different. They had another bolt that went into the axle housing, and I believe that would take up the original retaining bolt that keeps the bolt on the 30 series mounts from backing off. There was some other hardware back in here in another hole. I just removed that, and I'm going to put a short 3/4 inch bolt to keep the threads clean. That's what I did on it. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but this tractor went from not shifting correctly to now the quad range shifts fairly smoothly. Hopefully this is useful to someone.